Hey, what's going on, Soulmates? Here's 5 horror games you should play this Halloween season.
The first game that you should play this Halloween is Dredge. This one's a very unique title in that it's mostly a fishing game. In Dredge, you play as a fisherman who crashes on the rocks of a coastal town, whereupon they give him a new boat, and you have to pay it off and gradually build your boat anew. Some of the unique things about this game include a day-night cycle where at nighttime you really need to be careful of all the scary things that come out at you at night, and then also you have a mechanic where you literally dredge for supplies and salvage. This is a surprisingly complex title, and you might find this one a little challenging because it's more non-linear. You can kind of go wherever you want, although sometimes you get punished for going certain places where you shouldn't be quite yet because you're not powerful enough, you don't have enough supplies, etc, etc. There's a lot of crafting in this one too, so you can have new engines and new fishing poles and miscellaneous other new equipment to use on your quest. Dredge is not what I would call a super scary game. It just has some moments where you're going to be attacked by monsters, and also there are things lurking out in the night that will attack you if you're not in a coastal town. That said, at nighttime you do run into some strange fish that you can pick up, and they are worth a lot of money. So even if you do experience hallucinations and attacks from monsters at night, it is worth your while to go looking for those strange fish. Dredge is not a very long game if you just complete the main quest, but if you do all the side quests that go along with it to learn more about the story and about the inhabitants of this world, it turns into a very rewarding and deep experience, and I think it's one that you should take a look at. This one's especially nice because if you get this one for PC, it has very low requirements, so I think most people will be able to run this one. The second game we're going to talk about is the Mortuary Assistant. This one is a very popular game that people say is very scary, but I found this one to be very cheesy when I was playing it, and the jump scares are there, but I don't know that it's necessarily what I would call a scary game. That's not to say it isn't fun, and it does have some spooky moments in it, so I do think it's worth your time to check out. In the Mortuary Assistant, you play as Rebecca, a former drug addict who has a new life as a mortuary assistant, only to find out when she goes to her late night job that something is not as it seems, and then she has to deal with a lot of demons on the premises. During the process of preparing 3 bodies throughout the night, she finds herself experiencing a lot of hallucinations and reliving traumatic life events. It's possible this one could be very upsetting to some people, so be aware that there are themes of sobriety as well as self-harm in this one. Even so, despite the reputation this one is somehow picked up as a very scary game, I found this to be one of the funniest games I've ever played, and I think that this one is definitely good if you want to have yourself a few laughs along with some surprising jump scares along the way. Curiously enough, this is available for PC, and it's also available for the Nintendo Switch. And the controls can be a little touch and go at times, but for the most part it's very responsive. Although I have been playing the Nintendo Switch version, so that could account for some of the control issues. The jump scares and hallucinations that you encounter in this one are randomized, so repeated playthroughs are very rewarding. Not to mention, there are actually 5 endings if you're playing on Nintendo Switch and 6 endings if you're playing on PC, so you definitely want to play through this multiple times to get those really entertaining endings. It can be tough to get the correct ending that you want though, so be sure that you're paying very close attention to what you're doing when you're playing it, and that way you'll be able to get all the endings you want. It can be a little difficult to get them though, so you might want to look up a walkthrough if you're having a hard time getting each of those endings. You may find this one a little scarier if you actually believe in demon possession, but as it is, I think that it's a fun, silly time, and I think that you're going to enjoy this as much as I did.
Oh my God. Fuck. Okay, baby, don't worry. It's okay. It's okay, dude. I'll get you out of here. The police are just right up there. I'm coming back. I'm coming right back.
The third horror game you should play this Halloween is Killer Frequency. In this game you star as a DJ who lost his job in the big city and has to take a job as a DJ in a smaller town. And because the town is so small, when catastrophe strikes, he doesn't just function as a DJ, he also functions as a 911 operator. This is a really fun first-person experience that isn't really all that scary, but it functions as a nice throwback to 80s slasher films. Most of the game is going to be spent around the radio station communicating through audio, so you're really going to have to listen while you play this one if you're interested at all at doing well at it, or you could just go through it and let the chips fall where they may, in which case, that's what I did, and I had a lot of fun doing it. There's not a lot of action in this one, so if you're looking for disturbing visuals, you're not really gonna get it. But what you will get is a lot of lore, some interesting puzzles, and very fun dialogue. It's a mystery, so I don't want to spoil anything, but this one is definitely the least scary game on the list. Definitely worth it though if you're interested in living out a cheesy 80s slasher.
I'm lost, Forrest! I just ran and I don't know where I am!
If you support what I do, please click subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss a single video of mine when it comes out. And if you're enjoying this 5 horror games you should play this season video, please click like, because these are really tough to put together, and I appreciate it, guys.
The 4th horror game you should play this holiday season is Signalis. This one is another retro-inspired title that features graphics in a PlayStation 1 style. Signalis is set in a dystopian future where androids called replicas perform the bulk of military and labor operations. Here you play as Elster, a replica who wakes up from her sleep after a crash landing on a strange planet and sets out to find someone so she can fulfill her promise. This one really doesn't seem like it's going to be all that scary at first, but the more you play it, the more you realize this game is really screwing around with reality and your mind. It features an inventory system, combat, and puzzles that are very reminiscent of the Resident Evil series, except that this has more in common with Silent Hill when you actually play it. The puzzles are far more difficult than anything you'll see in the Resident Evil series, and you'll often find yourself scratching your head as you deal with some of the riddles the game presents you. This one might frustrate you with its nightmarish corridors and confusing puzzles, but if you're looking for a heavy dose of surreal horror with inspiration drawn from unique sources, as well as puzzles that are a little bit more complicated than just grabbing a key and moving some boxes, this one is definitely going to be up your alley. The honorable mention we're going to talk about that you should play this Halloween is Tenebris Somnia. This one is only a demo, but it's very interesting because it shows a lot of promise and it's also very fun. In this one, you play as the ex-girlfriend of some dude who goes to his apartment because she hasn't heard from him in a while, only to find that a lot of strange things are going on. It involves some survival horror as well as puzzle-solving elements, only this one is displayed in a sort of 8-bit, 16-bit style, rather than the 3D Resident Evil style survival horror that we grew to love back in the 90s. One of the notable things about this one is that it blends simple pixel sprites with full motion video to great effect, and it's creepier than you think it would be. The sound effects and ambience of the 8-bit sections are already unsettling enough, but the full motion video adds a whole new layer to it and creates this unease because you're never sure when it's going to show up, and it's jarring when it does, but it really adds to the scene because it makes it more detailed. There's only a demo of this so far, so we don't really know how far it's going to go with the full motion video quite yet, but from what I've seen, it does show a lot of promise and you should give it a try, guys. The demo is very satisfying and gives you a pretty good idea of what the finished product is going to be all about when it comes out. If you decide to play this one, you should be prepared for some puzzles. They will not be terribly difficult, but they will be a little bit more involved than the type of thing that we usually see in a Resident Evil video game. The 5th horror game that you should play this holiday season is Faith the Unholy Trinity. Faith the Unholy Trinity is a very unexpected horror game because it features Atari graphics around a horrifying subject. In Faith the Unholy Trinity, you play as John Ward, a disgraced priest who is tasked with stopping the profane Sabbath. Much of what you see in Faith the Unholy Trinity is left to the imagination because of the graphics that are used. Since the game takes the 1980s satanic panic and effectively makes it real, but only suggests things through its crude graphics, it makes the experience even scarier. The game is very simple. All you have to do is walk around and press a button to raise your cross, and that's about it.
but that's all it needs. Be prepared though, this one is not an easy game, it's a very tough game to beat, and the bosses that you encounter are going to challenge you definitely. You'll often find that the bosses move much faster than John does, sometimes much more so, and getting the good ending on Chapter 3 with a character like John Ward is no easy task. But if you're looking for a very scary game with a great challenge this Halloween, this one's definitely one to check out. Well guys, what do you think of these horror games? Are these ones that you want to play? Have you played all of them? Have you played only some of them? Have you played none of them? I don't know, be sure to let me know in the comments, and don't forget to tell me what your favorite horror game is this season.